Okay. So the three main topics that we are going to go over is permissions, location services, and tracking. And these three topics all have to do with our privacy and security tab on either our iPhone, our iPad, and even a MacBook. So once again, if you are here today and you have an Android phone, or so that's like a Samsung Galaxy, an LG phone, a Google Pixel, any of those type of devices. Unfortunately, this class is not for your devices today, but don't worry, I am going to do for Android devices next week. This is specifically only for Apple devices. So we're going to go over these three topics together. Each topic, I am going to screen share my phone and we're going to do it together, going into our settings and looking at what to turn on, what to turn off, why it's important to keep something on or why it's important to immediately turn it off for either your safety or privacy issues, things that you may or not feel comfortable with your phone having on or off. And I'm going to go over each of that. So let's focus first on something called permissions. So anytime you download something on your phone, let's say that is the Instagram, Facebook, Netflix, a shopping, something like shopping, like Stop and Shop, Uber Eats, any application that you download. Maybe that's My Chart. Anytime you download an application, sometimes you'll get a notification or a message on your screen that says whether or not you want to give permission to access certain information on your phone. So I'm going to give an example. So let's say it is Google Photos or WhatsApp. When you download WhatsApp, you may get a message that says, would you like WhatsApp to access your camera and microphone or photos? Sometimes you'll get a message like that, and you would say yes for WhatsApp because it needs you to have your camera so you can take pictures and send pictures to your friends. You need the microphone turned on because you want to send maybe a voice message to your family or friend, or when you're making a phone call with them, that's how they'll be able to hear you. So sometimes permissions are a good thing because that's what makes the app function. You need to actually turn some things on. But if we give another example, like let's say it's a Amazon. Let's say you downloaded Amazon. Maybe Amazon doesn't need to have access to your microphone, right? Because unless you're like speaking into the Amazon app and telling Amazon what products you're downloading, then you don't need to have the microphone enabled for the Amazon application. So there's some things that you should give permission to, and there's some things that you do want to turn off. But at the bottom, it's all personal preferences, whatever you feel comfortable. And we're going to go together and look at things that we may have turned on, maybe by accident, and I'll show you how to turn it off, or things that you feel like, oh, I should have it on, but I accidentally kept it off. So if we look at here on the screen right now, this is the type of permission message that I am referring to. So anytime you download any application, sometimes you will get a message just like this on the screen that says, Amazon would like to access the camera. And you have an option of whether or not you want to say yes, okay, or don't allow. Why would Amazon want access to your camera? So for example, let's say you are returning a product because it is damaged. It got damaged in the mail, it broke, or it just doesn't work. if you gave permission for Amazon to have access to your camera, you can actually take a picture and send the picture to Amazon in the application so they can see that the product is broken. That's why Amazon would like to have access to your camera, and that's why you would hit OK. If you don't feel like you would ever take a picture or send a picture to Amazon to show that your product is broken, you can always hit don't allow. And you can always change these features, so they're not set in stone. Even if you hit OK by accident, you can always go back to your settings, which I will show you today, and turn it off if you feel like that's not comfortable. But all of these things of giving permission to have a purpose and a function. It's not like having the camera on, it means that they are looking at you when you are using your phone. It's because maybe you need to take a picture in the app for a purpose like what I said with my example, which is a damaged product. Let's say it was an online banking app like Chase. Chase asks you the same exact question here on the screen. It would say Chase would like to access the camera. Why would your bank Chase need your camera? Because sometimes people like to take pictures of their checks and deposit it straight from their application. So there's different reasons why apps would use your camera or use your microphone. But at the end of the day, it's always up to you whether or not you would like to have it on or off. Does anybody have any questions on permissions, or is everyone understands that concept? I see. Yes, I see your hand. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead. Um,
My question is, you will show us how to find the on-off, how to
Correct.
do that,
I
okay?
am. So yes, so the 3 topics today are all under the same setting. So once I go over the 3 topics, we're gonna all together go into our phones or iPads, and I'll show you where it is.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So that is permissions. I am gonna go over 2 more topics, and then at the ending, we're all gonna go on the phones together and look at it together. I just don't want to stop and go into our phones because then it might take up more time. So the next topic is location services. So the reason why I'm doing all those 3 topics is because they all go hand in hand. All of these 3 topics that I'm talking about today have to do with privacy and have to do with applications asking you for permissions for certain things. So this is another type of permission, but this is location. So before I talked about your applications having permission to use your camera and your microphone. Well, this is applications asking you to use your location to see where you are. So, for example, you can decide whether or not you want apps to access your location. And with location services, you do have a bit of different options to choose from. There are options to choose whether or not you want to have your location on always, never, or just while you're using the app. Sometimes you can even say, ask me next time. So what this means is that if you have it always, that means all the time they're going to know where you are. If you say never, the app will never know where you are currently. While using the app means that every time you are scrolling through the app, let's say it's WhatsApp, let's say it's your photos app, maybe it's a social media like Facebook or Instagram. Every time you're on there clicking things, reading, maybe it's a news app you downloaded. While using the app, that is when they are accessing your location. And once again, sometimes location services are needed to be on. For example, if it's the weather, right? The weather should have your location on because it needs to know if you're in the Bronx, Manhattan, another state. It wants to give you the accurate weather of wherever you are. So sometimes, you know, when you go into a different borough or you go upstate, the weather will change a little. So when you have location on, it's better for the weather app to update the correct weather. Same thing with navigation. So I have my location on for navigation apps like Google Maps or Apple Maps, right? I want it to give me the correct directions to a certain place. I want them to tell me the bus, when the bus is coming or when the train is coming. So I keep that on. So sometimes apps need to have your location. But if we think about other things, let's say maybe your mail app, right? Maybe you'll say you maybe mail doesn't really need your location. There is any purpose for your mail to have your location on all the time. Or Amazon really doesn't need to have your location unless sometimes there's new things that happen on Amazon where it could tell you trending products in your area, or people in New York are mostly buying this item, something like that. I would say for weather and navigation, yes, you need to have location on. Let's see, photos, I put my location on because every time I take a picture, I wanted to tell me where I took the picture. So let's say I go on a trip or a vacation. If I took a picture in Paris, I want my phone to always remind me that that picture was in Paris and not New York. So I would have my location on for photos. But other apps that you just have to really think about whether or not that app should have my location. So think about the apps you have on your phone or your iPad, even your MacBook. Think about everything you downloaded, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Uber Eats, Netflix, a mail, CNN, a type of news. Think about what you downloaded and then say, do they really need my location? At the end of it, you may say to yourself, they actually probably don't need my location unless it's like the weather or navigation. Maybe like I have the Starbucks app on my phone. I keep the location on for there so they can tell me where's the nearest Starbucks. So sometimes you just gotta think, why would they need your location? And here is an example of a picture of an application asking you to use your location. This is a picture of Apple Maps. On everyone's iPhone or iPad should have the map application. So you may have gotten a message like this that says, allow maps to access your location while using the app. Your current location will be displayed and used for directions, nearby search results, and estimated travel time. So when you have your location on for maps, it's just basically giving you a shortcut into directions, restaurants near you, drugstores near you, pharmacies, things like that. When you have it off, you have to manually put in where you are and where to go to. And with it on, Maps is giving you a shortcut to tell you where it is. It's also great for telling you where the bus is. I use it all the time to let me know when the next bus is coming and what time I should take it. So for Maps, that's probably the number one app I would recommend to keep your location on. Does anybody have any questions on location services? Okay. So we went over permissions for camera, microphone. We went over permissions for locations. But the last topic we're going to go over is tracking. And tracking is Probably, okay, we're gonna do this after, sorry. We're gonna do all that where to find locations after the ending. But the last thing I want to go over is tracking. And tracking is probably most difficult one out of the two because it kind of has to do with a bunch of things all together. And when I know when you think of tracking, you kind of think of someone following you around. They know like your name, your address. That's what someone thinks of initially when they hear the word tracking, right? Someone is following you. But in terms of Apple and iPhone and iPad, that's not really how you should see it. It's more have to do with advertisements. So tracking as in how you are as a consumer. What do you do when you shop online or when you search for things? When you're scrolling on your phone, what are you clicking? What button is appealing to you that they start tracking you as a consumer. So they say, wow, everyone clicked on this image on Amazon. That means it must be a great product. Let's keep selling that product. Wow, everyone clicked on this advertisement. Let's keep pushing that advertisement because it's going to keep making more money. That's what they mean by tracking. They're tracking to see what's appealing to you as a consumer, not tracking like they know your name and they're like following you around, right? So this is a picture of what it looks like when they ask you to track. And then I am going to go over some more things after. But this is a picture. I don't know what that application is. I found this screenshot online, but if you do have the recent updates of a phone, if you have the iOS 15 or 16, those are the two recent updates for iPhone and iPads. You should have tracking enabled in your phone where applications must give you this message that they are asking whether or not they can track your activity. So we have something called ask app not to track or allow. I advise people to hit ask app not to track because unless you always want personalized advertisements all the time and everywhere, you could hit allow. But if not, you want to hit make app not to track you or nothing like that. I keep it always off because I do not want personal ads. I'm not a fan of that. And this is a new update that has been rolling out. You may have not seen this message yet, but soon enough, you will be getting these type of messages specifically for Apple devices. But I am going to discuss it a little more. And if you do have questions, please let me know after I discuss this slide. Tracking lets you choose whether or not apps are allowed to track your data activity across other apps and services. So, for example, if you search for something on Google, maybe 2 days later, you will get an advertisement on Facebook about what you searched. So let's say, for an example, you searched for a pair of running shoes that you really want to buy. You're probably going to start getting advertisements about those running shoes that you wanted to buy on Facebook, on Instagram, on maybe a news websites like CNN. You'll probably get a advertisement about it. That's what tracking is. They start bringing out different personalized advertisements about you, especially with things like shopping. So even it could be anything, even like a piece of furniture that you want to buy in the future for your house. You'll start getting advertisements about, oh, come to Kohl's or go to Home Depot, something like that. You'll start getting those type of advertisements on different websites, different apps. And how they do this is called an IDFA, identifier for advertisers. So the data that you do, the data and activity that you do on apps are tracked by an IDFA. So everybody's Apple phone or Apple iPad has a specific IDFA in their phone. I was reading articles trying to understand it myself, but they don't track people by their name or email address. They kind of track you by a specific ID number. So every phone or iPad has like a specific long serial number. And that is how they track the things that you search for, the things that you click on the internet. They try to see what type of consumer you are, what are the things you're liking. Then they try to push out advertisements that they think you will like. Let's say when these companies are looking online to see what people are clicking on, they're not saying, oh, Tabitha clicked on this advertisement. It must mean she likes it. Instead, it's like a long ID number that's assigned to my device. And that's how they know. They say, oh, that big long ID number likes going shopping on this website. So let's give her advertisements about this website on Instagram, on Facebook, on the news website that she's reading, like that. So as you can see here, it says that this sort of tracking is very popular with apps like Facebook and Google because they're always using data or collecting data for advertising. So you could see if you have a Facebook or if you even just use Google to search for common questions, even like what's the weather, if you just use Google for that, you can even see that you're getting a lot of advertisements about different things that's maybe happening in your area, in the Bronx, in New York, or if you start searching for, like I said, running shoes, you may start seeing advertisements about running shoes on different applications. But what's good is that when you do say no, applications are not permitted to track your data or activity like your email address. And that's the most important thing, that we do not want to give these applications our information about who we are, like our email address or IP address or things like that. So sometimes when you download applications, they do know your name, because when you download something, it gets downloaded with your account and your name is attached to your account. But we don't want to give them our email addresses, because then they can start sending us advertisements in our emails and promotional emails. We already get a bunch of those, and we do not want that. So anybody have questions on tracking? It is a little complicated to understand. It took me a while to kind of get it, but any questions about it? Anything? Let me see. Is it two people or just one person? I can't tell. But you can go ahead. I see the person raising her hand. Yes.
It's Aliza. My question is, by not knowing how they do it, you just explained it beautifully. I do get an awful lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And once it's on, is there a way for me to get rid of it?
Okay, so this
The tracking.
Yeah, I know, yeah. The tracking, it's very complicated, because this is just kind of one form of tracking where they track your activity. There's a lot of leeways that companies use to still try to send out these advertisements. That's a very good question. So, for example, here that I wrote down, just in case someone like you would have that great question, developers can continue to include their own ads through subscriptions and products from the company. So maybe they're not tracking you using this IDFA, which is your specific personalized ID number that you don't know it, right? This is just the company created it and assigned it to people's phones across the globe. Nobody knows their own IDFA. But let's say they don't know this specific number, there's still leeways through products and services that they can still send out an advertisement with you. So for example, like me, I have it all off on my phone. But guess what? When I'm scrolling on Instagram, all of a sudden, the thing that I was searching for, I see an advertisement about it. So some way there's still like in the fine print, they're still getting me somehow. But with this off, it's helping you a little bit because they can't get certain information like your email address or your location. And that's what I'm trying to help everyone today on the call. So they still could try to get you, but at least they don't have all of that information tied to you, like that email address or your location of where you are right now. But yes, unfortunately, you still probably will still get some advertisements, but it's the important part is that information that's tied to who you are as a consumer. They won't get that part. Does that make sense a little?
Yes, thank you.
Any other person have a question on tracking or want me to explain a little more? Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, each application that you download on your phone, I know nobody really reads it, but you do get like terms and conditions that are extremely long, like 15 pages long, that everyone just agrees to. But somewhere in that fine print, they do tell you about tracking and how they can still send you personalized advertisements. Unfortunately, I do not have a solution on how to stop those specific advertisements. I wish I did. I probably would make a lot of money if I knew how to, but it is trying to help you get this information not tied to you, like an email address or financial details or things like that. We don't want those companies to have, but they still probably will still get you with the advertisements. So those are the three topics. And now we're all going to go together. I'm going to screen share my phone and I'm going to show you where to find these things to turn on and off. We're going to make sure we don't have any tracking on. I mean, if you really do want personalized advertisements with a specific company, of course, you could keep it on. Or you could keep it on off, it doesn't matter, it's all personal preferences. I like to keep it off, but of course you could keep it on if that's what you prefer. Hold on. So okay, we're going to go all the way back. So I am going to screen share my phone, but if you look on the screen just momentarily, this is the application where I want you to go to if you want to follow along today. Or you could just, look at the screen and see what I do. But if you do want to follow along with me, this is the application. I'm going to screen share, but let's all go to our settings app. So it's a gray gear icon. It should be somewhere on your phone. You may have to scroll through some pages on your phone. And once you find that, I am going to screen share. I'm going to give some people some time to get into it. And then I'm going to screen share. Okay. All right, I'm screen sharing my phone. You should see it. All right, your screen may have a white background. Mine is in dark mode. It doesn't want to turn into light mode at the moment. I'm sorry about that. But this is the settings. I'm inside of the settings. And I am going to scroll down with my finger. I'm going to go down all the way until I see the word privacy and security. It's a blue and a white icon with a hand. It says it's right under battery for me. You may just see the word privacy, or it could say privacy and security. I think someone on the call has an iPad, so please let me know if you see the same thing. It may be a little different on an iPad. Or if you don't have current updates on your phone, it can look a little different as well. So please, you can always unmute yourself and let me know. Privacy and security is where we want to go to. I am gonna click on it. Does everyone see privacy and security for them?
Yes.
Okay. When I open it up, for me, I have the latest update. I have two things at the top: location services, tracking. Then I have a bunch of other things listed at the bottom: contacts, calendars, reminders, photos. I'm going to focus right now on location services, which is all the way at the top of the screen. And I'm going to click on it. So all the way to the top, I'm going to click on location services, and it should open up to something that looks like this.
Yep.
Okay, so hopefully everyone is there. If you didn't find this, please let me know. You could also say it in the chat. But once again, all the way at the top, I clicked on location services. So right now, what are we looking at? So if we look at the bottom of my screen, right? Everyone is gonna have different, because you don't have the same apps that I have on my phone. So you're gonna have different apps. But what I see here on the screen are different permissions I gave to applications on whether or not they can use my location. So if we just use the first one as an example, AE, this one, this app, the first one, that's a shopping app that I downloaded. I told them that they could never use my location because I feel like there's no need for them to have my location. And when I clicked on it, you can see that next to never, all the way at the right, it's a little check mark next to never. But you can see you have a bunch of different options like I explained before. You can say ask next time while using the app, or always. So you can always change your permission of whether or not they can access your location. But for me, I feel like this application does not need to know where I am all the time. So I said never. And you can go to all of your applications and look at all of them and start to see whether or not these apps need to have your location. So you can go through all the different apps. I have a bunch of different apps downloaded on my phone, and you can see, should they have my location, should they not? You can also say on the call now, if anybody has a question, like wants to ask me whether or not they should have a location on for a specific app, I could give you my opinion on that. I know a bunch of people at the center, everyone had different applications downloaded, so they were just asking me, oh, should I change it? Should I keep it on? For me, I like to have the camera, have the location, clocks, compass. I have Fandango, which is like a movie application, because I want to know which movie theaters near me are playing a specific movie. So I have Instagram has my location. So when I take pictures, it knows where I took the picture, so I can add that. Maps, of course, has my location because I wanted to give me the bus time schedule, the train schedule. I want them to give me directions by car. So there's a bunch of things that I've been using. I do have to like turn off some because they shouldn't have all my location, but we're doing it together. So
Tabitha, I have a question.
yes, go ahead.
My question is that I have many more applications than what has shown up under the privacy. How do I get them to show up under the privacy location services. They're not there. There's a much smaller list than, like, for instance, I have Open Table like you have, but it's on the face of my iPad and it's not showing up under location
So
services.
are you using an iPad or using your phone right now?
I'm using my iPad right now.
And it's downloaded on your iPad Open Table?
Oh no, it's probably just on my phone. Okay.
Right, yeah. So
Okay.
whichever apps you have on your iPad are not going to have the same menu screen like on your phone, or vice versa.
Makes
So,
sense.
yes.
Yeah, get it.
Anybody have any other questions about what apps to keep on or off? Like I said, you see I have Starbucks, so I keep Starbucks on because I said earlier that I want to know what Starbucks are near me. So with the location on, it tells me where's the nearest Starbucks. Same thing with train time. Train time is how I get my Metro North tickets. So if like I'm in Manhattan and Grand Central, it tells me the time of when the next Metro North is coming because I have the location on. So Uber Eats, things like that.
Facebook. And what about Facebook?
So if you want to have, if you have location on for Facebook, basically what that is, I don't know if you ever use the feature check-in on Facebook, but you could like tell your Facebook friends and family what you're up to. So if you're like at the movie, you could put the movie theater's location because your location is on. Or let's say you're at the park or at a store somewhere downtown with location on with Facebook, it would automatically know where you are, and you can they will manually, not manually, automatically put in that location. Like if you're in a shopping mall, it'll put that location of where you are because you have that ticked on for while using. That's why Facebook would use your location.
So you have it on?
Oh, I don't have Facebook, but
Okay.
if I wanted to use that feature, I would keep it on. But like I said, if you do click on any of these things like maps, you can always change it. Like if you feel like one day you don't want Facebook to have your location anymore, you can always hit never, or you can hit while using the app. So while using the app is when you're scrolling on Facebook, it looks at your location. But once you leave Facebook and you go on Google to search something else, it no longer looks at your location.
Okay. And
But
what about Google? Do you leave on?
Google, you would leave on if you want to know current news that's happening in your area, or like, for example, if you use Google to search for the weather, then you would keep it on. Does anybody have any other questions on location services?
I would like to know why I can't find privacy on my phone. I have it on the iPad, but I can't find it on the phone. On the general, it's under the general. Once I go into
Okay, let's go back.
settings,
You
I
click on
went to
settings, yes.
I went to general, hit
Well,
general.
no, you don't hit general. You just scroll down until you find the word privacy.
Can't seem to find it.
Don't hit on general.
Okay, oh, here it is, privacy and security.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, so that's location services. Now we are going to go over tracking, which is right under location services. Now, if you do not have one of the latest updates of an iPhone, I do not mean the current model, I mean the update software. So if you don't have iOS 15 or 16, you may not see tracking. So if you have a older phone that can't update to newer versions of software updates, you may not have the word tracking under location services. So I just want to let everyone know that So if you do have a very, very old model of a phone that cannot update, maybe that's like an iPhone 5 or maybe even an iPhone 6, you may not have tracking. But if you do have kind of a later version, or if your phone still updates, click on where it says tracking. Unfortunately, if you don't have it, there isn't no other way to look at tracking because it's just one of the newer features. But we are gonna just click on tracking. And once you open it up, you should have something that says allow apps to request to track. And I have it flipped to the left in gray. So that means that is off. So instead of me always getting messages of whether or not I want to give permission for an app to tell me they can track me, I just flipped it off, that they can no longer even ask me that question, that I just don't want you to track me at all, and don't even send me a message that you would like to track me. I keep it off. So all the way at the top, if you have that flipped off, you won't even get a message anymore of them asking you for permission. They will automatically assume that you do not want them to track you, and you won't even get it anymore. It will pretend like this feature never existed, and you just keep it off and they can't track you. So you could see that I didn't have that off in the beginning. So all of these apps at the bottom of my screen were asking me if they can track me. And I was just tired of always getting those messages. So what I did was I just flipped the switch all the way at the top where it says allow apps to request to track. I just turned that off so I don't have to be bothered anymore for apps to ask me if they want to track me. And you can see in the fine print in the middle of the screen, I'm going to read it for you because it may be a bit small and it's dark, but it says apps that have asked for permission to track your activity with an identifier will appear here. So what do they mean by identifier? That is the IDFA that I explained on the PowerPoint, that every Apple device, everybody's phone or iPad has a specific ID number that they use to track your activity. So when you have this off, they can no longer track your identifier, your specific ID number that everyone has. But of course, there are leeways where with products and services and subscriptions, they can still try to give you a personalized ad. Does anybody have any questions on this tracking?
I have one tapping solution, which is a healing thing, to tap. I wonder why they would want to track me on that.
Well, you could always turn it off.
It's off in Vimeo.
You could also turn, if you don't feel comfortable with them giving you personalized ads and knowing your email address, you can turn it off now. But if that doesn't concern you, you could always keep it on.
No, I off is good. Thank you.
Anybody else on this tracking? Everyone has it off, or you could keep things on if you like to. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna do is the first thing that I went over in the PowerPoint, which is access to camera, microphone, and photo. So that's the first thing I went over, was what do we give permission to if they want to use our camera, if they want to use our photos, things like that. So I'm just gonna hit back. So if you can see all the way in the top left-hand corner, it says back, and I'm gonna hit on that. Or maybe you just have an arrow. So just hit on that arrow or go back and click on that. And you want to go back to this screen here that says privacy and security. So you should have location services, tracking, and then a bunch of different things at the bottom. Depending on your model of your phone and the update you have, You may not have everything that you see on my screen. I have the iPhone 13 with the latest update, which is iOS 16. When I say update, I mean the phone's software update. So like when the phone turns off and it gives you the newest update, that's what I mean by update. If you have like an iPhone 7 and above, you can download any newest software update, and you should have what I have here, but only if you have the iOS 16. So that's like, it came out like maybe 2 or 3 months ago. So maybe you need to update that, but that's perfectly fine because we're only gonna go over 3 things on the screen, which is photos, camera, and microphone. So on my screen here, I have contacts, calendars, reminders, and then I have photos. If it's not listed like that on your screen, it's perfectly fine. Just go up and down with your finger and try to find where it says photos. Once you click on that, you can see what did I give permission to, so they can see my pictures. So if I just use Instagram as an example, and I have all photos on, you could see, if you see on my screen, Instagram, it says all photos. What does that mean? That means that every time I want to post on Instagram and post a picture on Instagram, I'm able to, because they have access to my pictures. Same thing with Gmail, right? So Gmail has all photos ticked on. What does that mean? Let's say I want to take a picture and I want to send it to my family or my friend, or I want to send it to a coworker. With all photos on, it has access to all my photos and I could send it to it. That feature is on. It doesn't mean that Gmail, there's a person who works in Gmail and is looking at all your pictures and saving it and keeping it somewhere. It just means that you're allowing them to access your camera roll, gallery, when you want to send a picture, when you want to send it to a friend or family. So if anybody today has WhatsApp, maybe you have WhatsApp on for all photos because you want to send pictures to your family members and you need to have all photos on. Sometimes I have it off. Like for example, I have Shein. I have none because Shein is a shopping website and they don't need to have access to my pictures to send, so I could send it to anywhere. I don't want to send my photos to Shein anywhere. Just like Spotify. Spotify is a music service. So I don't have any need to upload pictures to Spotify, right? So
Right.
those are different ways of why.
So YouTube, you don't need photos open, right?
No, unless you're someone who creates YouTube videos, right? If you're someone who posts on YouTube, yes. But if you're not, then no, right?
Right.
So you could see on my screen, right? I have a lot of social media. So I keep my photos on because I'm posting on social media. I'm posting pictures on there. So I want to do that. I want to upload pictures.
Wait,
But
isn't social media Facebook?
social media is Facebook, yeah. So if you want to post, if you want to keep posting photos on Facebook of yourself or your family, you would keep it on. If you turn it off, you would have to always come back to this setting and turn it on and then, turn it back off. That would kind of be a little too tedious to do.
Right.
So, I mean, you could do that. You could, say, I'll keep it on right now, I'll post a picture, then I'll come back to my settings and turn it off.
Right. And Google Photos?
Google Photos you want to keep on because that is how you save your pictures to the cloud. And I am going to do the cloud topics next month. So I'll go over that as well.
Okay, great.
All right. So that's photos and why you would have an application need to have access to your pictures. You could always turn it off or on.
Right. I always feel like they're looking in, you know, when Google says, do we have access to all your pictures? I always feel like saying no to them, but it's all right. You're saying it's really all right.
Right. I think that people kind of see it as a really bad thing. Like there's someone that
Yeah.
really works there and is looking at your phone.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't work that way.
Okay.
It's more like uploading and downloading pictures. But of course, if it's always not comfortable to you, you could always turn it off, right?
Yes.
Let's go to microphone now. So it's the same exact concept. So I went back, I'm back on the original screen for privacy and security, and I'm gonna find where it says microphone. It's an orange icon. And it's the same concept where these are things that I'm giving access to for my microphone. So if we just use Zoom as an example, right? That's the best example I could give you for microphone. If you have your microphone off, right? So if I just turned it off right now for Zoom, nobody's gonna hear me on this call because I told Zoom they cannot have access to my microphone. Right now, for everyone who was asking questions, right, on the Zoom call, if you had Zoom off, you can't ask me a question anymore. You would have to use your chat feature because you're telling Zoom, no, you can't use my microphone. So now you can no longer speak on Zoom meetings. So for Zoom, you need to have them have access to your microphone because that's how you keep it functioning. You wouldn't want that off. Outlook, I could keep that off. Some things I need to turn off, like Gmail, that doesn't need to have my microphone. Spotify doesn't need to have it. That doesn't need to have it. Yeah. So I'm learning here with you. I just turned off some things because I realized some of these apps don't need to have my microphone, right? Like I just turned off my mail apps. My mail apps don't need to hear what I'm saying. I don't need to speak into it unless I'm using like a speech to text where I'm talking into my phone instead of typing on my phone. Does everybody understand microphone?
Instagram you have on? Oh yeah.
Instagram, I have it on because I send voice messages to friends and family. But if you don't do that, you could turn it off.
TikTok. Yeah. TikTok you have on?
TikTok I have on because sometimes I like to create TikToks. So I need them to hear my voice, right?
Yes, that's nice. That's nice. And Tumblr is photos, so you don't need that.
No.
Okay. Makes sense.
Can you tell me, I have something called Teams that I have on, but I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Teams is a application for meetings.
Oh, okay.
Maybe by, I think, Microsoft
Okay.
Teams.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we're just gonna go back, and the last thing I am gonna go over is camera. So just like with photos and just like with microphone, this is permission for them to access your camera. Once again, if you have it on, don't panic and think this means that they're looking at me in my camera all the time, right? It's not like, it's not someone looking at you all the time in your camera. It's taking pictures, the ability to take pictures within that application. So I'm going to give a great example once again with Uber Eats and Zoom, and maybe with Chase as well. I'm going to give some examples of why I have it on. So Uber Eats, one example, I ordered something on Uber Eats and the order was wrong, right? I asked for chicken parmesan and they gave me eggplant parmesan, right? So I had to take a picture within the Uber Eats app and show them that it wasn't chicken, it was eggplant. So I could get my refund back. That's why I keep my camera on. They could have access to my camera because I need to show them that the order was wrong so I could get my money back. Same thing with Zoom. Today on the call, or even when you're Zooming with family or friends or in another club you may be in. If you want them to see your face on Zoom, you need to give Zoom permission to use your camera. If you have it off, never show your face on Zoom. It always will be blank because you never gave Zoom permission to access your camera. Same thing with Chase. So if you want to take a picture of a check to deposit it into your Chase account, you need to have the camera on. You can't just upload a picture to Chase from your gallery. That's a security issue. You have to physically take the picture inside of the Chase app. Same thing with Uber Eats. You have to physically take the picture inside of the Uber Eats app, because you can then just take a picture on Google of a picture of an eggplant parmesan and say, look, this is what they gave me. Here's the picture, right? You could go to anybody's picture online, pretend that it's yours and upload it. So that's why you have to physically be inside of the app and use your camera. Uber Eats and Chase does not allow you to just take any random picture of something on the internet and save it and say, yep, this is my picture, here's proof. When you're actually using the camera inside of the app, it's security reasons, because you're telling that app, this is my camera, I took this picture. I didn't take it online from someone else. So that's why they need access to your camera for those specific reasons. Does anybody have any questions on camera permissions?
Oh, like Instacart, so they need the camera.
Correct, the same thing, because if they mess up your order, you want
Right.
to take the picture of the order, right?
Right, and send it to them. And Gmail, yes, I guess.
Gmail, yes, if you are taking pictures of documents to to send it to someone, like a doctor's test result or something like that, you want to take a picture of that.
But it's been working without it on, just so you know.
Yes, because for Gmail, they don't have like security reasons like Chase, where you take a picture of any check or something. With Gmail, they know it's sometimes it's just pictures of your family or friends. So it's not like security reasons for that. Or like Uber Eats, where it's like a specific picture of a food. Gmail's like any picture you could take and send it to your family or friend.
Right. And
So
AOL is off and it's been working. So
yeah, so for mail, you could keep it off if you don't take pictures within the Gmail app. When I say security reasons, I mean like Amazon, Chase, Zoom, Uber Eats, like they need to know that your camera really took that picture. In Gmail, you could tell your family member like, oh, here's a cute picture of a dog, and it doesn't have to be your picture of the dog. It doesn't matter. You're just showing your family member, here's a picture of a dog. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, so that is for today. Those are all the main or basic privacy and security settings. There are a bunch of other security settings that have to do with iPhone that we could go on for days, but that is a start. I hope everyone was able to follow along today. You can always call the center and ask for me. So if you need a follow-up or didn't understand today, I'm always here to help. But thank you everyone for coming today. And
Thank you,
I'll see you
Tabitha.
again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
bravo.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.